समस्या हो केटीको बिचरा त रूपांशको समस्याले थिचेर मर तेरो समस्या हो केटीको बिचरा त रूपांशको समस्याले थिचेर मर
सात गाडी समस्याको काट्दै थिएँ म मेरो घर बारी निलामीमा हाँस्दै थिइस् त मेरो श्राद्धको सलामीमा नाच्दै थिइस् त मेरो बहिनीको गुलामीमा बाँच्दै थिइस् त को त हरामी खुट्टा चाड्दै थिइस् सरुले फालेको सिङ्गोको ठुट्टा छ्याप्दै थिइस् साम्रै बुढीको दलालीको पैसा सार्दै थिइस् जसले पालेको उसकै घरको जुत्ता छ्याप्दै थिइस् फ्याँक्दै थिइस् इज्जत जतिको तँलाई बाल छैन न्याक्दै थिइस् परिवारको घाँटी काल रहेछस् ढाल भइछ सचेल शत्रुको जसलाई मेरो भन्दिस् फाल्दै तेरो खेल खेलाडी आयो धेरै सन्किस वनपिस रहेछस् बेइमानीको नमुना त झन्टिस भइछस् त खरानी होस् हुन त रुन त तैँले पर्छ अब यो ठुलो झमेलामा 900 समस्या अझै सान्न देखा तेरो
समस्या हो केटीको बिचरा त रूपांशको समस्याले थिचेर मर तेरो समस्या हो केटीको बिचरा त रूपांशको समस्याले थिचेर मर
म राम्रो गीत नराम्रो दिनमा लेख्छु नराम्रो मानी राम्रो देख्न खोज्छु फेर्छु म प्राय राम्रो लेख्छु किनकि प्राय दिन नराम्रो छ राम्रो नराम्रो बुझ्ने कोही छैन आफ्नो त हिँड्नु पर्ने जस्तो पनि त्यही एउटा बाटो छ प्राय जस्तो एक्लै कहिले काहीँ साथी पाएको छ अर्थ लाउन गाह्रो पर्ला तर पनि बोल्छु ठिक दुख्दा पनि आफूलाई म गर्छु तर सबको हित मेरो शब्द सङ्गीत नेपलाई समर्पित भए चाहिँ सुके पनि हुन्छु सधैँ गतिशील परिश्रमको फल पाउनु भन्दा अघिको दिन एक्लै म मेरो कोठा ऱ्याप लेख्दै हर दिन तेरो साथी कोही पनि रेकर्ड गर्न खाँचौँ गल्तीमा नो क्यास तर पनि आटो आफै गरे सब थोक फरक छु म सबैभन्दा म्युजिक मेरो माया हो र गर्नु छैन मलाई धन्दा बसे धेरै वर्ष अन्डरग्राउन्डमा देखिनस् मेरो मुख मको हो कसैलाई नि भेटिन अब सबले चाल पाउने बेला फर्किआएको छ एमसी फ्लो अन द माइक डन्किहाल्छ आगो त
समस्या हो केटीको बिचरा त रूपांशको समस्याले थिचेर मर तेरो समस्या हो केटीको बिचरा त रूपांशको समस्याले थिचेर मर
Everything was all bad just a week ago. This what's about pony tin tale studio. Dropping hits make this shit look easy though. You and I cute taking over on the digital. Really though, you a silly hoe if you think this little bro settling for lesser than $1 million. One thing I'ma let the whole city know. This my last year being broke. Sorry एकछिन भुले त्यतातिर अब फेरि यतातिर बालेन दाइले उहिले भने कुरा याद गर्नु मुला watch me shine like a hero but I don't need no fame. I'm back for the mula like who that boy. Better rap way back yeah you knew that boy. Now I'm back aiming at you to shoot that boy. 가릴래 gay guns on shoot that boy.
समस्या हो केटीको बिचरा त रूपांशको समस्याले थिचेर मर तेरो समस्या हो केटीको बिचरा त रूपांशको समस्याले थिचेर मर
तेरो बोली भ्रष्ट कानलाई कष्ट स्पष्ट बोल्न खोज्दैछु तेरो पारेर नष्ट मस्त बस्त डुबेर मदिराको रसमा ध्वस्त आफै सस्त पापी तेरो हस्त रोगग्रस्त युवतीको उन्नति फसस बस्छ साइज बस सिंहासन तेरो नाममा हवाई फायर तेरो कुरालाई सुकाइदैन घाममा दबाई खाएको तेरो बोली भुकाइ मेरो कानमा चपाई फ्याँकेको तेरो नाम सुकाइदे मेरो साममा मित्रता तैले देखाएको विचित्र छ इमानदारको गोरको नाममा गीत त बेइमानहरूको नाम प्रसिद्ध छ मेरो शब्दको साधना जगाउने चाहना तेरो दाम कमाउने ज्यान उद्देश्य काम वासना यो पाको सोच पाको आगो तिर्बल अन्न प्रासन के देख्न पाइन्छ पर्छया केवल बाँच्न हाँस्न नाच्न आको होइन म कमर भाँच्न अतुल्य अनुपम अक्बरे सुन पर्दैन दाँच्न
तेरो समस्या हो केटीको बिचरा त रूपांशको समस्याले थिचेर मर तेरो समस्या हो केटीको बिचरा त रूपांशको समस्याले थिचेर मर तेरो समस्या हो केटीको बिचरा त रूपांशको समस्याले थिचेर मर तेरो समस्या हो केटीको बिचरा त रूपांशको समस्याले थिचेर मर
Okay, well, I'm sure a number of you are scratching your heads and saying to yourself, what is Robert sharing here? Who are those guys? Well, one of those guys is the new president of Nepal. Okay. One of those rappers is now a global leader. And you'll see who he is. His name is Balendra Shah. He is the first Gen Z president of any country in the world. Okay. So I think this is a really interesting global phenomenon that we're going to start to witness. Now, to what end or where this is all going, socially engineered, disruptive, I'm going to show you kind of a pattern here that's going to get you sort of scratching your head a little bit. right? So if you haven't been following about what has been going on in Nepal, the youth in Nepal lost their minds, right? They went crazy because they finally figured out that their government is completely corrupt, like almost every single government in the world. Show me a government that isn't corrupt, and I'll show you a country who's soon to be exterminated because there's some sort of existential threat, right? I mean, the only way that it's just like in Washington, the only way that the corruption works is if the majority of the politicians are corrupt themselves. And what I mean by that is that they're taking money, taking bribes, and doing things that compromise themselves. And that's how the corruption flows. It flows from one compromised individual to the next. And there's something strangely liberating if everybody else is doing it, right? It's kind of like there's sort of this collective permission or this group permission that's taking place. And it's like, well, if they're doing it, I may as well do it too. And it kind of offsets the guilt a little. It's like sort of the collective guilt or the body of guilt is shared amongst the people who are. But if you have one person who's corrupt and everybody else is, squeaky clean and wants to do right, think of the guilt and the burden on their shoulders, unless they're completely and utterly psychopathic. But if you spread that guilt out amongst a bunch of other people, what it does is it lessens the guilt. It's an amazing tactic, because people have to live with their conscience and they have to be able to sleep at night. But if they got a bunch of other people that they're sharing that guilt with, in a weird way, it gives them kind of a collective absolution, but not completely. Not completely. But anyway, there was a lot of corruption in Nepal and also a lot of unemployment. And in most cases, which we're going to see here in this country, as we're on the rapid road to ruin, is that because remember, short-term pain equals long-term gain. So we may be going down Terminal Street for a brief period of time, but at some point we'll get back on. Here's what we are. You ever travel on parts of Route 66 now? They're almost undrivable. I mean, it's really, really bad. There's potholes everywhere. It's really bad. I got taken off of the main highway one time. I got shot down Route 66. It was brutal. So we're kind of going down Route 66. Interesting number. But eventually we'll get back on that super highway, right? We'll get back on there, and that is our long-term gain. But the short-term pain is we got detoured onto Route 66. And it's filled with potholes, and it's bumpy as hell. And you just don't know what you're going to find along the way. So anyway, that's your new leader of Nepal, Balendra Shah. I think he's 26 years old, if I'm not mistaken, and he's a rapper. But he's not the only rapper who has recently taken a significant position, maybe not president, but president of one of the largest cities and most powerful cities in the world. And that would be Zohran Mamdani. Most people don't realize that that's where he got his start. The son of this Indian filmmaker, and perhaps even the son of Jeffrey Epstein. If you haven't seen the pictures, they were a little strange, right? And we know that Jeffrey Epstein was into weird seeding programs, and he hung out with David Rockefeller, and the Rockefellers plant their seed everywhere. Right? This is what they do. Bill Clinton, most people know in Arkansas, at least the ones that were around, that Bill Clinton is the offspring of a Rockefeller. Fairly common knowledge, although I have run into some people who don't understand that or know that, and we're from Arkansas. His father was Winthrop Rockefeller, if I'm not mistaken. And I've talked about this before. The whole movie, The Devil's Advocate, with Keanu Reeves, who plays a young idealistic lawyer named Kevin from Florida, is a cipher of Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton. That's what he is. He's a cipher of the two of them. Because number one, right, he has the same characteristics as Bill Clinton in the movie, raised by a single mother, doesn't know who his father is, supposedly, right? That's right off the bat. Florida, southern state. Arkansas, we'll call it a southern state. And then there's a scene in the movie where where he plays, it's a very early scene. He's a trial lawyer, and he gets a pedophile off. Now, he doesn't get him off, but he gets him off, right? Like, gets him to walk, and he does it by pressuring and intimidating and ultimately humiliating the young girl who had been violated by the pedo. And that's part of Hillary Clinton's background. It's one of the things that is a skeleton in her closet. If you look it up, she got a someone who was accused of child molestation off. So Keanu Reeves is a cipher. His character is a cipher of both the Clintons. But the story is that, of course, Al Pacino plays the devil, and he goes all around the country, and he knocks these women up, and these kids are his offspring, and they check in on them, and then they eventually rise to power, right? And that's perhaps one of the reasons why Bill Clinton was given a bit of a magic carpet ride, because his father was a Rockefeller. So if we look at Zoran Mamdani, let me see if I can find the picture. There's a picture of his mother and him and Epstein when he's a young boy. And, you know, it's interesting too, because there's that famous picture of Mamdani they say they're AI fakes now. It's so easy. It is so easy to say things are AI. It's so easy to say things are AI. But I don't think this is AI. Let me just bring this up here. Here, let me see if I can show you guys the photo. And this is a really interesting photo as well, just in terms of context, because this is exactly what I'm talking about in a lot of ways. So here we have Jeffrey Epstein. This is Mira Nair, and that is Zoran Mamdani's mother, and that's little Zoran. And then who do we have in the middle? The connecting link, Bill Clinton, who, of course, is the bastard offspring of a Rockefeller. And Jeffrey Epstein looks like he is the cat that swallowed the bird, right? So it's another piece of high strange that has emerged from the Epstein files. And I'll let you be the judge on that. But getting back to Mamdani, he was a rapper. That's where he got his start. And I just think it's really interesting that we have these new young global leaders, and they all kind of look alike. It's really a trip. Let me show this to you. So on the left, we have Bukele. Now, I don't know if he raps. I bet you he might have rapped at some point. He might have right at some point. And then you've got Balendra Shaw in the middle, who, as you watch him progress, he keeps shedding facial weight and keeps getting more and more cleaned up. And then you have Mamdani on the right. And there's something really interesting that links all three of them together, right? Facial type, kind of, and so when you look at them too, it's like, well, what are they? What are they? Pele is Middle Eastern. Even though he's the head, he runs El Salvador, right? He's Middle Eastern. And Mamdani is kind of a mix, right, of Jeffrey Epstein and Mirror. And then this guy, in the center, Balendra Shah, people are asking, what country is this? Where is he from? He could be Muslim. He could be Nepalese. I mean, there's a lot of different ways that you could go if you didn't really know. So they share kind of this slightly indigenous, international look, right? It's sort of like a version of the golden race theory, right? Like the golden race theory is when you have kind of a reverse eugenics program, and instead of trying to make everybody white and Aryan, you bring in the Kalergi effect, and you go black, brown, white, and you create like golden people. Like Amber Rose is a perfect kind of golden race specimen. And the idea is that if there was enough interbreeding, that everybody would look like Amber Rose. And they wouldn't be black and they wouldn't be white. So they wouldn't have any real historical or cultural connection to either skin tone. And they could basically have an entirely new profile or history poured into them, right? So it's kind of a reverse eugenics theory, very Kalergi. But this is something along those lines, but a little bit different. So instead of going for like the golden race, what we have here is kind of like generic ethnic, right? Like, is he Hispanic? Is he Middle Eastern? Right? Is he Jewish? I mean, so this is a whole other kind of picture of what this universal ID sort of looks like. And it's like, it's a profile, right? And they're all kind of showing up as these hip hop bros who are going to be our global leaders. And if you're young and you're tired of, these, I'm sorry, there are people who are boomers who watch this, and some people would even say I'm a boomer, but I'm more Generation Jones, lost soul. But there are people who do not like the boomers. They're anti-boomer. So what do they look for? They look for people who are younger and more representative of who they are and their generation. And politics has always been sort of the last to understand this. Like the first time they really, really got a hint of this was Bill Clinton. JFK, sort of. I don't think there was any, well, now that I think about it, JFK was a very strategic pick because he was younger. They were dealing with demographics of the baby boom all coming online kind of at the same time. Even though JFK was not a baby boomer, he was born pre-baby boom, but he was young enough for them to relate to him at that time. And Nixon wasn't that much older than JFK, but he certainly came off as older, right? Nixon's a Capricorn, JFK's a Gemini, So JFK is going to have that kind of youthful Gemini quality. And the thing about Nixon is that when you look at Nixon in 1963 and Nixon in 1983, there's not a lot of change. Like Nixon ages incredibly well. I mean, that's the Capricorn gene. But JFK, on the other hand, well, he didn't age very well, did he? Die young, leave a good-looking corpse. I don't think his corpse was that good looking. And yes, I know there are people out there who say that he never died and he's living in Antarctica with Marilyn Monroe, and they are connected to med beds, so they'll be eternal. And when the time is right, they'll pop up along with Elvis and RFK Sr. and all these other people, and it'll be like a cinematic second coming, right? So just hang on and just wait for that. But even if that's true, I mean, in our minds, JFK is gone, right? And what would happen if people, it's a really interesting question, because there's a whole generation that has no connection with JFK. I mean, none. There are young people who don't, historically, mind-blowing, like there are young people who don't know who Dr. J was. They had never, it's like, who? Dr. Who? Yeah, I might have heard about him. I've heard that name, Dr. fucking J. I've seen videos on it. I've seen young dudes on YouTube reacting to Dr. J highlights. They're like, what? So JFK, at a certain point, rolling out JFK is not going to matter. Here he is. He never died. He's been alive. He and Marilyn Monroe have been living in Antarctica for the last 60 years. And look at the benefits of the med bed. And if they roll this out 5-6 years from now, 7 years, there's going to be a whole group of people who are going to go, who's this guy? Who's that blonde? She's kind of hot. Yeah, I mean, you think I'm wrong. I'm not that wrong. Sure, there will be people who will know who JFK is. But every single day, every single year, he becomes part of the memory hole. Part of the memory hole. How many people who are young right now know who the fuck Calvin Coolidge was? They scratch their heads. Oh, did he play for the Knicks? Oh, Coolidge. Oh, he was on that show. What was that show? The White Shadow. He was on the White Shadow. There was a character named Coolidge on the White Shadow, just to let you know. I'm just telling you, like at a certain point, it wouldn't matter. But getting back to the young part, I think there was some very clear poli-sci demographic prompting of Kennedy as a young candidate. It was smart. That was back when the Democratic Party. But you also have to understand there were a lot of deals that went into play when Kennedy was running for president, which I've covered here many times before. And in fact, there's a lot of evidence that suggests that Richard Nixon actually won the 1960 election. Water under the bridge now. But then we move forward and we get these older candidates, or we get these older presidents. Even Nixon, who when he's elected in 1968, he's not that old, but he certainly looks older and he feels older. But he seems to be part of this old guard. And, you know, all the young radicals are screaming for Eugene McCarthy, who probably was around the same age as Nixon. He just had a bit of a different political affiliation. I wouldn't call Jimmy Carter young, right? He doesn't come across as being young. Jimmy Carter came across as being middle-aged and solid, a real family man. Jimmy was a real family man. He had Rosalind and he had a little Amy, right? And so Carter, he's a bit of an outsider. You know, he's from Georgia, theoretical peanut farmer, nuclear sub engineer, right? Like that's his pedigree, and he comes out of nowhere, like absolutely comes out of nowhere. He's sort of the first outsider candidate. Kennedy's not an outsider. As much as he was, Kennedy had a track record of being a senator, right? He had a track record of that. He was part of an established East Coast family, not really a blue blood family, but clearly established. Like the Kennedys had lots of political clout and power. So he's not really an outsider. Carter's an outsider. He comes from the South. And I don't think Johnson, who's, I guess, Southern, he was elected, but it's a weird election, right? It's almost like we have to elect him because he represented Kennedy. Like Southern presidents, not very prominent. You know, usually they're from either the Northeast, the Midwest, or occasionally from California. Like Nixon was from California. Woodrow Wilson was from California. And then ultimately we have Reagan, who was born in Illinois, but eventually he matriculates to California. And he's more or less a Californian. But Southern presidents were not prominent. So you have this break with Carter, and that's his outsider status. He's from the South. He's not from DC. He's not part of the quote unquote establishment. He's not a fossil, but he's also not young. And he has a bit of an idealistic vibe. He's almost in some ways a Bill Clinton 1.0 prototype. Even down to the fact that both Clinton and Carter have one child, and it's a female, right? Even though the Clinton female probably isn't his daughter, but that's another story. So there's a weird kind of mirroring that go on with Clinton and Carter, right? And I know it's just kind of a coincidence, but both last names start with C, right? So anyway, then we kind of go through the fossils again. You know, we get into George Bush. And while George Bush Jr. is technically a boomer, he still feels old, right? George Bush Jr., JW, he still feels old. He's not terribly old. He's not, he's sort of, middle-agey. He's got 2 youngish daughters, but he feels old, right? Clinton feels young, and he's the first president that sort of breaks this mold. And it's like, here is the boomer icon for the boomer generation that is in the prime of their life and is really about to take the reins of power, right? He's the perfect candidate for the time. And they were running other people. I mean, when Bush ran for the first time, the Democratic running field was just chock full of candidates. And they were all kind of similar in some ways. Like you had Dick Gephardt, you had Joe Biden. He ran, Bill Clinton. And they were all sort of, so it was like, let's just throw all of them at the wall and let's see who sticks. And the one who stuck was Michael Dukakis. And of course, George Bush made quick work of Mr. Dukakis. But Bill Clinton was part of the primary process. He got his first taste of politics. And then the next election cycle comes around and he beats George Bush. And I think that election was thrown because it's all in the family at that point. And they knew that they were going to profit with Bill Clinton. They, being the Bush family, would have profited no matter who was in the office, and probably profit even more with Bill Clinton. So that's what happened. And Bill Clinton becomes this sort of first really die-cast model of the young candidate who comes out of nowhere, right? And we've gotten into this cycle where it's the outsider, it's the maverick, it's somebody who's willing to break with the system, who's not supposed to be part of the system, that's going to be our savior. Like the tried and true political hacks, the ones who've been in the system for a long time, that, know the highways and byways and the pedophile tunnels in Washington, D.C. inside and out. They're no longer really electable. So from here on out, it's all going to be about the power of youth, right? And I talked about this on Sunday night with Marco Rubio, who, by the way, in a recent poll, is now rising in popularity past J.D. Vance. And what generation does Marco Rubio represent? He represents Gen X. He is the face of Gen X rising to power. That's who Marco Rubio is. Now, there's a lot of Gen X who will reject Marco Rubio, but I'm just saying that is going to be part. And Rubio is interesting because, yes, he's young, right? He's young and he's more representative. He's not a boomer, and he's more representative of youth culture, but he's also not an outsider. Like Marco Rubio, by the time 2028 rolls around, if we even have an election, is somebody who is and will be a seasoned reptile, right? He'll be a seasoned lizard by the time he steps up, because he's been in DC for a long time. And not only that, but he's going through this initiation process, this global initiation process. So I just thought it was really interesting to see the rise of these kind of young global leaders. And what's interesting too is that we're starting to see more men. Like for a long time, it was like, okay, we're going to give you, we'll start with Angela Merkel. And then it sort of winds up with, what's her name? Meloni from Italy. And that was the global model for, maybe the last 10 to 15 years. Jacinda, what's her name, from Australia, old horse face, right? She was another one. It's like, it's ladies' night in the political world. But that's changing now. And what we're starting to see are these guys that are like very metrosexually, right? They're very metrosexual. And they have, this guy, I guarantee you, once he loses, and he's losing weight, and he gets all trimmed up, he's going to look more like these two. And this is your classic sort of metrosexual look. All right. They have some masculinity, but they also come off as a little feminine at the same time. And I feel like, again, a lot of this is just socially engineered, because what they do is they realize that people get tired of a particular product or model or brand. And so they have to bring in something else that captures their attention. Like it's the new shiny thing, the new shiny toy. And that's what they represent. They're going to be the new shiny toy. Now, who knows? Maybe this Balendra Shah is based, right? These two guys are millennials. Bukele and Mamdani are millennials. He is Gen Z, so he may show up a little bit differently than the other two. We'll have to wait and see. We'll have to see if he can elevate Nepal to a power on the world stage, unlocking the secrets of ancient Nepal. We'll see. I have another musical performance for you. And I want you to just, if you have any cringe protection. Now, there's a very good chance that this episode may not make it. I may get hit with so many copyright strikes. 760. Hold on a second. Oh. Hold on. Okay. So if you have any cringe protection, I highly recommend that you really load up here. You need to load up on your cringe protection, because it seems like it's not just the guys that are getting in on the hip hop game. The hip hop pop rap pop game. It's the ladies. It's the ladies as well. If you haven't had the absolute pleasure in opportunity, gift to experience the talent of Laura Trump, I'm about to help you out with that. Here we go.
Give me that, make me lose my mind. I just wanna shine like a diamond for the night. Tonight, got no time to lose. You know what I came to do. Go and light the fuse. Are you gonna make me move? I got no more time to lose. Something tells me you got what it takes to take me over. Get loud, dance, dance, sa-sa. Everybody in the room, hands up, sa-sa. Yalla, yalla, attitude. Dance, dance, sa-sa. Tell the DJ in the booth, we about to turn it loose. That's how we do.
طب عارفة انت انا جايلك منين؟
You know that's how we do.
جايلك من بلد الفراعين.
Hands up, get loose.
اخترتك من وسط البنات.
You know that's how we do.
مط يلا يا لرع
So turn it
الأهرامات.
loose. Make me move.
حبيبي you can come to me. I don't wanna be فرعون عاشق وكمان والهن. وانتي في ميامي ما بنامش وانتي قاعدة تنامي. ونسيتي كلامي يا حبيبتي عايزك قدامي. وحشاني شبطت السن حبيبي وعليك هتجن حبيبي. احلف بهلالي وصليبي انت اللي استقطيني. Come find me, come find me, come find me, come find me.
Get loud, dance, dance, sa-sa. Everybody in the room, hands up, sa-sa. Yalla, yalla, attitude. Dance, dance, sa-sa. Tell the DJ in the booth, we about to turn it loose. That's how we do.
طب عارفة انت انا جايلك منين؟
You know that's how we do.
جايلك من بلد الفراعين.
Hands up, get loose.
اخترتك من وسط البنات.
You know that's how we do.
احمط يلا يا لرع
So turn it
الاهرامات
loose, make me move.
طب عارفه انت انا جاي لك منين حبيبي جاي لك من بلد الفراعنين حبيبي come find me حبيبي come find me حبيبي come find me حبيبي come find me
No time to lose. You know what I came to do. Go and light the fuse. Are you gonna make me move? I got no more time to lose. Something tells me you got what it takes to
Was that Garage Band? Let me just go back here. Look at this.
move. I got no more time to lose.
Yeah, that's Garage Band. They're doing all this on Garage Band. I love it. All right, let me keep going here.
Something tells me you got what it takes to take me over. Get loud, dance, dance, sa-sa. Everybody in the room, hands up, sa-sa. Yalla, yalla, attitude. Dance, dance, sa-sa. Tell the DJ in the booth, we about to turn it loose. That's how we do.
حبيبي
You know that's how we do.
حبيبي
Hands up, give up.
come find me حبيبي come find me حبيبي come find me حبيبي come find me
Like, what the fuck is going on here? What the fuck is going on here? I need to just take another look at this. Okay. So usually with videos like this, where you get a guy and a woman, and she is mini skirted up and, you know, in this kind of, I don't know, cobalt, blue gray alien print, right? Like there's usually some kind of sexual innuendo going on. This is it's like a mating dance, right? This is kind of what this is about, right? She is like showing her femininity. Look at that. You got the Mossad agent over there on the turntables. You know, she's supposed to be showing her femininity, right? I mean, this is all about her femininity. There he is. That motherfucker is a Mossad agent right there. Unit 8200. Yes, I know how to do this when I was practicing in my spare time over in Tel Aviv. And nothing really describes edgy and urban like a fucking golf cart at Mar-a-Lago. That is edgy and urban. Oh my God, look at that. And look who's driving. It's Laura. Laura's in the driver's seat. You know, and you got this guy, he's wearing his muscle tee or his wife beater. And, you know, he's sort of bringing the testosterone, right? I mean, this is really the underlying message. At a deep level, I guess at another level, it's more like, hey, look at us. We're from two cultures. I'm white, sort of. I'm Jewish, sort of. She is wearing a cross, but she is Jewish. And you are much darker than me, and you're Muslim. And look at this. We're bringing the world together. Ooh, look at that. Is that where her second vagina is? Right there? Anyway, I know I might be offending some people. If there's Laura Trump fans out there, I apologize. But look at that. Man, bro is flexing. He is flexing. And I can't think of a more, I don't know, imaginative set than that. That's when you know you're really good. It's just you in a chair and a dude in a designer wife beater. That's how you know you're really, really good. You don't need anything else around you. That's confidence. By the way, this isn't the only thing. Yes, I'm keeping an eye on you. This isn't the only thing that Laura Trump has ever done. Oh, she's got a whole bunch of music videos. Well, look at that. Yeah. Hip Hop Planet. So is this guy going to be the new president of some other country? Where the fuck he's from? Is that what he's setting up to do? Laura Trump. Oh my God. That's Eric Trump's wife, right? Isn't that a little cucky? I feel it's like a little cucky. That's my sense of it. Could be worse. Could be Obama's half-wife. Well, yeah, and people vote for them yet over. Who is the woman? It's Laura Trump. She couldn't carry a tune if it had handles on it. There we go. That's worthy of a post. Nice one, Ole. Very nice. Lorianne, it's totally bizarre. Like, what the fuck is the point of that? Give me Fergie any day. Oh no, is that Laura Trump? Yeah, that's Laura Trump. Cutout dress, just no. I'd like to see Barron pull this off. Barron's like an EDM kid. I don't think Barron would do that. I think he'd be like EDM. He'd be like the Dead Mouse guy or something like that. That's what I see with Barron. Crack open a Billy beer and watch Laura Trump music video. There's more. If you like that one, there's more. If I have not satiated your hunger for Laura Trump, there's more. They're trying to turn her into a serious force in the music industry. Oh no. Wonder she looked familiar. Let's see. When you aren't looking, it just sounded like blah, 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 Shante tone, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Kevin, he's too busy making money selling drones to care. That is a dark and cynical statement, but that is true. That's why there is auto-tune. And boy, does she take advantage of that, Rick. Turn it up. Turn it way up. Lots of newbies here today. Yeah, welcome to the show. We need Andy. Rick Beato is going to be all over this. I know that. Rick Beato, but Rick's got to be careful. Like, YouTube loves Rick. They love the algorithm. And he doesn't want to piss off the algorithm. I see Baron Old Soul behind the piano. I guess she did the music video route instead of the shitcoin scam. It's a scam either way, right, Christine? Either way. Okay, so we got a little humor out of the way here. And I'm sorry if I hurt your ears. What do you guys think about the hip hop bros? I actually like this beat, just not watch the video. It's cheesy, but the beat neat. You can hire pros. Beats are pretty, they're pretty easy to do. Your boy's going on spring break in the Ozarks. That's a good place to go. Rubio has a scandalous sex backstory. Yes, he does. That's why he is perfect. That's why he's the perfect candidate. He's compromisable. This is really interesting. You know, Luke Skywalker, or Uncle Luke as he's called, is he lives in Florida, right? I think they shot that at Mar-a-Lago. I could be wrong, but it wouldn't be too far afield from Uncle Luke to Laura Trump collab. I mean, that would break the internet. That would totally break the internet. Let's see. Uptown Funk would have been perfect. Maybe Laura and Erica Kirk can form a duet team. There you go. I like that. That'd have to be country western, though. I wonder if Laura can translate into country western. She seems so modern and urban. Let's talk a little bit about Erica Kirk. Marco Rubio, jars of soap for bubbles as campaign merch. Rick, I like your contributions. I like what you're bringing to the table. Well, Robert, Iranian hip hop, well, we're not quite there yet. We're not quite there. But let's talk about Erica Kirk, okay? So some of you follow Candace Owens. In fact, probably a lot of you follow Candace Owens because Candace is on top of it, right? Got her fingers out into all these different directions. People giving her tips and all this stuff. I'd say probably about 6 weeks, 2 months ago. I don't know when. It all kind of blurs now. But I did a show over on Rumble, and it was about Erica Kirk and beauty pageants. And I started to really get into Donald Trump's footprint in the beauty pageant world. And when he started to buy up all these beauty pageants. And then I started to look into how many former beauty pageants at one level or another, some at a very high level, Miss World, Miss Universe, Miss America, some lower, like Miss Fill in the State or Miss, Jiffy Lube, right? But they've all, like, a lot of these women participated in beauty. You'd be amazed at how many are in politics. Like, it's kind of mind-blowing. I was like, and even Nancy Pelosi was like, Miss Jiffy Lube or something like that when she was in Maryland. So it's amazing how many of these women go from beauty queens or beauty pageants right into politics. I can take you right now if you are interested in going there. It's all listed on Wikipedia. And then I went through sort of a number of these women who won on the Trump campaign circuit. And there was one in particular that was quite interesting. I believe she was like Miss Georgia or Miss North Carolina. And there was a connection between this woman and Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump. Like, this woman had actually worked for the Epstein organization, right? And she was in Donald Trump's beauty pageants. And let me see if I can, I have to go back and resurrect all this. Anyway, long story short, my brain is clicking, right? I'm like, there's something going on here with Erica Kirk and Jeffrey Epstein. Because she fit she checked all the boxes, right? New York, she lived in New York. She worked for this Corcoran Real Estate, which we later found out that it was owned by none other than Les Wexner. And so I was throwing it out there, right? Like 6 weeks, 2 months ago, that there is a connection between Erica Kirk and Jeffrey Epstein. And as I went through all those beauty queens, it was that one woman, and I apologize, I forget her name, but she is the link. It's like, oh, okay, there's something going on here between these beauty pageant women and Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump, then ultimately Erica Kirk. And that's what's come out with Candace over the last, 72 hours. And it's the Jeffrey Epstein connection with Erica Kirk and through the beauty pageant world. So if you followed the narrative that I get into on Rumble, you would have heard this 2 months ago. Now, did I have all the receipts that maybe Candace gets because she has tipsters? No, but I had enough receipts to be able to see the pattern and to see the personas that showed up in significant places at significant times that lined up with Erica Kirk. But for me, the real epiphany was the amount of women who'd been in the beauty queen world who had become elected officials. Kind of mind-blowing. And when you get into some of them, like Sarah Palin was one. Sarah Palin is programmed as fuck, right? She's got a complete MK Ultra background. Just feels totally programmed. She's running for president or vice president. Lee Greenwood's on stage, singing his one big hit. And we know that Lee Greenwood shows up in Kathy O'Brien as a handler, right? And Sarah Palin's doing the devil sign while he says, it's weird. It's the weirdest video. Even Bristol, the daughter's looking at my mom like, Mom, what are you doing, right? And Linda Rothschild's on stage. It's like, it's totally bizarre. And everybody watching it at that time just thinks it's Lee Greenwood singing at a Sarah Palin political rally. And then when you take it apart, it gets really bizarre. So we know that Sarah Palin comes from that background. And if she does, then how many others do? Right? Like how many other women that go through the beauty pageant spin cycle have their personalities fragmented and partitioned? I'd say quite a few. I mean, just look at John Benet Ramsey, whoever or whatever she became, whatever happened to her, right? Young on the beauty pageant circuit and probably getting her personality fragmented, which is what they do when they're young, right? And turn them into these beta kittens. So anyway, I just wanted to bring that up because, we were talking about this 2 months ago. And here's Candace with millions of viewers and her tipsters eventually getting to the same place that we got to, only maybe with a bit more footnotes, shall we say. But it wasn't totally speculative on my part because there were some people and some links in there. It wasn't like I'm just throwing something at the wall. That seemed to be the most, logical conclusion even though we have not yet reached the logical conclusion to the Erica Kirk story. By the way, Trump just appointed her to be the head of this board for the Air Force. Have you guys seen this story? Let me bring this up. It's like, yeah, she doesn't have, she doesn't have enough on her plate. She doesn't have enough on her plate. 2 children, loss of her husband, running TP USA. Erica Kirk is fucking Superwoman. Trump names Erica Kirk to key advisory board of U.S. Air Force Academy. Widow of murdered right-wing activist Charlie Kirk replaces husband on 16-member panel of military training facility. So she's replacing Charlie. Like, why does she have to take the job? There's this amazing word. It's called no. It's called no. And look at that pose. She's just gazing up into heaven, knowing that Charlie is up there looking down on her, blessing her. Oh, God. Creepy. And let's read this here. Donald Trump has appointed Erica Kirk, the widow of murdered right-wing activist Charlie Kirk, to a key advisory board of the U.S. Air Force Academy. The 37-year-old joins a number of other loyalists to the president on the 16-member panel of the Academy's Board of Visitors, which, according to its website, inquires into morale, discipline, curriculum instruction, physical equipment, physical affairs, academic methods, and other matters of the Colorado Springs military training facility. Clearly, this is a position that Erica Kirk has undoubtedly deep experience with. Academic methods, curriculum, instruction. Yeah. She's top of mind when it comes to candidates for that. Kirk's husband, who was shot and killed in September during a speaking engagement at Utah Valley University, was appointed by Trump to the board a year earlier and served until his death. There's no official announcement by the Academy of his widow's elevation, which was reported on Tuesday by The Hill and other political news outlets, but her name has already been added to the list of members as one of Trump's current 5 appointees, with 1 slot vacant. Other people appointed by the president in March of 2025 include the Republican Alabama U.S. Senator Tommy Tuberville, former football coach, and Dina Powell, who was Deputy National Security Advisor for Strategy during the Trump administration, first Trump administration. A number of Congress members from both parties make up the bulk of the rest of the panel, which includes 2 other Republicans, U.S. Senators elevated by John Thune. The chamber's majority leader, they are Kevin Cramer of North Dakota and Mark Wayne Mullen of Oklahoma, named recently as Trump's pick to replace fired Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem. In a statement, by the way, Kristi Noem was another beauty queen. In a statement, White House spokesperson Olivia Wales said Erica Kirk was a perfect choice to succeed her husband. Charlie Kirk served proudly on the board, inspiring not only the next generation of service members, but millions of others around the world with his bold Christian faith, defense of the truth, and deep love of country. None of that actually describes Eric or Kirk, by the way. Eric Kirk will continue his legacy and will be a fearless advocate for the most elite air power force in the history of the world, whose warriors keep our nation safe, strong, and free. This sounds like some shit that comes out of like Starship Troopers, the movie that Paul Verhoeven. If you haven't seen Starship Troopers, I highly recommend it. It is a satire, right? Most people don't understand it. It's a satire. It's a little gory, but it's one of my guilty pleasures. I love Starship Troopers. Since your husband's murder, Kirk has continued to take an active role in Turning Point USA, the conservative advocacy group he founded and led as its chair. She is scheduled to appear on Wednesday with Sarah Huckabee Sanders, the Republican governor of Arkansas and Trump's former press secretary, at an event in Little Rock to promote the group's Club America program that seeks to install a Turning Point chapter in every high school in the state. I don't know how I feel about that. I really don't know how I feel about that. Kirk, a former Miss Arizona beauty pageant winner, was also recognized by Trump during the president's State of the Union address to a joint session of Congress in February. Then there's old Pete Hegseth, warns of most intense strikes on Iran yet. When Pete points his finger, he means fucking business. The most intense strikes. The war is over. Oh, it's not a war. Don't call it a war. Anyway, Erica Kirk got herself a promotion. How about that? It's not like she doesn't have enough on her plate. CEO, Turning Point USA, trying to beat back Candace Owens with her beef, raising 2 children, still deeply in the wake of her husband's passing, living with the heavy grief on a daily basis. You know, some people just process differently. They just throw themselves into things. They throw themselves into life so they don't have to sit down and really embrace the darkness and the depth of their sadness. And maybe that's just how Erica Kirk's wired. You know, in fact, give her more, give her another gig so she can deal with the grief in her own way. And who are we to judge? Who are we to judge how people deal with grief? Shame on us. Shame on us. You go, girl. There's more to talk about as we kind of go around the web a little bit. We got some Mars in Pisces, Neptune and Aries news. Let's break that. Pentagon sends Marine Expeditionary Unit to Middle East. Oil spikes on ground war fears. So the Marines are a nautical military force. Pisces is nautical. Mars is military. Iran reportedly approves Indian government sending 2 liquefied petroleum tankers through Hormuz. I think that the let's just see. Is this? I think they've got insurance to cover some of the tankers, perhaps. Are they really doing this again? The WSJ is reporting a breaking bombshell, which suggests that U.S. ground forces could be introduced. Or else this could also be about securing other areas of the Gulf region. The Pentagon is moving a Marine Expeditionary Unit to the Middle East as Iran steps up its attacks in the Strait of Hormuz. According to U.S. officials, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has approved a request from U.S. Central Command, responsible for American forces in the Middle East, for the Expeditionary Unit, typically consisting of 2,500 Marines. This is how the Vietnam War started, by the way. We're just going to send in some advisors. That's what we're going to do. A follow-up update by WSJ appears to offer confirmation. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has approved a request from U.S. Central Command, responsible for American forces in the Middle East, for an element of an amphibious ready group, an attached Marine Expeditionary Unit, typically consisting of several warships, and now it's 5,000 Marines. The Japan-based USS Tripoli and its attached Marines are now headed for the Middle East. Two of the officials said Marines are already in the Middle East supporting the Iran operation, the official said. So there's more on the way. There's more on the way. From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Iran. Is that the song for the Marines? And of course, they announced this on a Friday, which is a classic bury the lead tactic for anything that's about to happen that needs a good 3 or 4 days of fake press giving it attention. Yeah. And so it begins. I got one more for you today. I got two more for you today. This is a kind of a follow-up to the Marco Rubio show on Sunday night. J.D. Vance fears Iran war disaster as 2028 odds crash. J.D. Vance privately fears the war in Iran will be a catastrophe, with his 2028 presidential odds now in free fall. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth have basked in the glory of Operation Fury. What does that mean, basking? Do you think they rub oil all over each other and like head out to the pool in Mar-a-Lago and bask in the glory? Is that what they do? Which killed Ayatollah Khamenei on February 28th, while Vance has faded into the background. The conflict spiraled on Friday as U.S. death toll hit 13, and Iran security chief Ali Larijani defiantly took to the streets of Tehran. The Straits of Hormuz remained under siege, and gas prices climbed to $3.60 a gallon. Vance is worried about success, the senior administration official confirmed just days after Donald Trump admitted on stage that the vice president has been less than enthusiastic about the U.S.-Israeli strikes than other cabinet members. Why would he do that? Why would Trump throw J.D. Vance under the bus like that? Why would he do that? Well, he's doing it because he wants to throw J.D. Vance under the bus. You know, here's what you do normally as president. You present a unified front. That's what you do. You would say, we've got everybody on board. Everybody's doing hard work, overtime to make sure that everything is running as smoothly as possible, that we're communicating at the highest level, that we're sharing information in a really efficient, timely manner, as real time as it gets. I couldn't be prouder. I couldn't be more proud of our of the people who are of my cabinet. That's all you got to say. Then, everybody gets to bask in the glory a little bit. But not Trump. Oh, no. If he's got a beef with you, he'll single you out. This is from a senior official. Vance just opposes the war and remains skeptical. I like him even more now. A senior official said, while a second told Politico he had offered a different point of view, but has since fallen in line. Once the decision has been made, he's fully on board, the official said. Vance pushed for swift, decisive action to minimize casualties. He pressed the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Dan Kane, and CIA Director John Ratcliffe at a meeting ahead of the strikes, questioning them on the risks and complexities. Wow. What? That's just completely the audacity of the man. To question them on the risks and complexities? Who the fuck does he think he is? He is now walking a tightrope in public as daylight emerges between himself and Trump for the first time. There's Yvonne, what's her name? Melania, showing up in the classy leopard print at the White House. Women's History Month. Don't they know that Women's History Day was essentially invented by Vladimir Lenin? That they are celebrating a Bolshevik holiday? Then Senator Vance, an Iraq war veteran, when he really didn't do much, backed Trump's second term in a 2023 op-ed, writing in the Wall Street Journal that he won't recklessly send Americans to fight wars overseas. That's what he was saying about Trump. Vance told Fox News on March 2nd that Trump would not allow the U.S. to get into a multi-year conflict with no clear end in sight, no clear objective. He said the war would not end until Trump accomplishes that all-important objective of ensuring Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. Well, it's gone beyond that. They keep moving the goalposts, don't they? Look at the hierarchy. And look at the focus on this picture. Vance in the background, blurry. Hegseth in the foreground, blurry. And who's in the center? Clear and visible. Marco Rubio. Rubio received a louder applause, sources say. A KC-135 refueling plane went down Thursday in friendly airspace. A second aircraft involved in the incident landed safely. What does that mean, friendly airspace? And who shot it down? Nobody really asked those questions. They just, friendly airspace. Okay, let's move on. Let's just move on. Let's see. What else do we? Anything else? Any meat on the bones here? Vance, who enjoyed a 29-point lead over Rubio in July, now sits level with the Secretary of State, given an 18% chance of winning the presidency in 2028 by prediction site Kalshi. Let's hear what G.I. Joe Cool has to say here.
CNN doesn't think we thought of that. It's a fundamentally unserious report. What should the banner read instead? How about Iran increasingly desperate? Because they are. They know it, and so do you, if it can be admitted. Or more fake news from CNN. Reports that the Trump administration underestimated the Iran war's impact on the Strait of Hormuz. Patently ridiculous, of course. For decades, Iran has threatened shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. This is always what they do, hold the strait hostage. CNN doesn't think we thought of that. It's a fundamentally unserious report. The sooner David Ellison takes over that network, the better.
David Ellison, of course, an avowed Zionist. Avowed Zionist. Okay, I got one more for you, and then we're going to get out of here today. And this has to do with Lucky Larry. Lucky Larry Silverstein. Lucky Larry, he's 94 years old. You can't get away from the guy. Can't get away from him. What did Lucky Larry do? Lucky Larry just bought a brand new building. Well, not a new building. He bought the LA Bank Tower. Actually, it's the US Bank Tower that is located in Los Angeles. Let's take a look at the US Bank Tower. This is what Lucky Larry just purchased right here. Right there. The US Bank Tower. Let's see. Built between 1987 and 1989. The building has changed names several times over the years. The Library Tower from 89 to 96. First Interstate World Bank Center from 96 to 2003. And that's your timeline right there, 1987. Construction begins. Architectural style, yada, 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 right? So that's what we're looking at here, right there. It might be the largest skyscraper in LA. What's this? That's the 777 Tower. Interesting. Let's see the news around Lucky Larry and the purchase of the bank tower. This is from 16 hours ago. It's brand new. This motherfucker is 94 years old. So what is this behind him? Klingon? And that's why they call him Lucky Larry. Well, Lucky Larry strikes again because he was able to buy another building. Another building. Right here. I'll bring it up one more time. Oh, I got another story before we get out of here. There it is. Gathering in the freshly renovated lobby of the U.S. Bank Tower. Members of Silverstein Properties executive team lined up to cut the ribbon commemorating the completion of the building's $60 million capital improvement program on Tuesday. Silverstein Properties, a New York-based development and management firm that bought the downtown LA building for $430 million at the height of the pandemic, completed the 2-year renovation. So he's owned it since the pandemic. The biggest redesign took place on the 55th floor, reintroduced as the Vista 15,000 square foot flexible workspace amenity floor. The Vista includes museum quality collections that reflect the history and culture of Los Angeles, including 8mm movie cameras and projectors, a wall of original film noir posters, books and gifts from LA Central Library, and tributes to LA-based writers and poets from Ray Bradbury to Amanda Gorman. So this is the official kind of ribbon cutting of the bank tower building. And it's all related to Mr. Lucky Larry himself, Larry Silverstein. There you go. LA, I'm not saying that your building there is on the endangered species list, but Lucky Larry does not have a great track record. Just saying. Now, we did have I wouldn't call it a false flag, but we did have an event that happened just in the last 24 hours. And this is a synagogue attack in Michigan. Now, if you have followed Donald Trump's shootings in Donald Trump's presidencies, particularly the first presidency, there were two synagogue shootings in his first presidency, one in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and then the other in Poway, California, both of which to this day remain quite dubious in terms of both details, execution, and the aftermath of the story. The Poway synagogue featured the rabbi who was supposedly shot in the hand and given a Medal of Honor by then President Donald Trump, later got indicted on what's the word I'm looking for? Fraud, and essentially taking money from the synagogue, which was related to Chabad, by the way. And it was the money that came through from donations post-shooting. And I think he actually went to a suspended sentence in prison for a very short period of time. And then his son took over the synagogue. Anyway, so there's a history of these things happening under the Trump administration. So here we go. Trump Part 2, Michigan synagogue attack updates. Federal officials identify a suspect. Department of Homeland Security said the suspect who was killed in the attack was a 41-year-old naturalized U.S. citizen who was born in Lebanon. Officials are still searching for the motive. So he's naturalized. He wasn't some illegal. Federal officials identified a naturalized U.S. citizen born in Lebanon as a suspect in the attack on a synagogue outside Detroit on Thursday. The suspect died after ramming a vehicle into the synagogue and exchanging gunfire with security guards, an episode that raised further alarm over, drumroll please, anti-Semitism in America. The Department of Homeland Security said in a statement that the attack on the synagogue Temple Israel in West Bloomfield, Michigan, or West Bloomfield Township, Michigan, had been carried out by Ayman Mohammed Ghazali, 41. He's always got to have three names. Even if you're a Middle Eastern, Lebanese attacker, assailant, you got to have that third name. So there he is. He's got the three names. Ayman Mohammed Ghazali versus just Ayman Ghazali. Mr. Ghazali entered the United States in 2011 on a visa issued to foreign-born spouses of U.S. citizens. The agency said he obtained citizenship in 2016. Officials were still searching for a motive. Jennifer Runyon, the special agent in charge of the FBI office in Detroit, described the episode as a targeted act of violence against the Jewish community. The driver's cause of death was not immediately clear. Well, you get caught in a hail of gunfire. Shouldn't that be immediately clear? Sheriff Michael Bouchard of Oakland County, Michigan, said the suspect drove through the doors of Temple Israel and down the hall. What kind of car do you have to drive a car down a hall? Is it one of those smart cars? The sheriff described watching a video that showed the attacker traveling with purpose. What the fuck? Traveling with purpose. How does he know that he's traveling with purpose? If you're traveling there's usually a purpose behind it. The purpose is you're trying to fucking get somewhere. Even if it's about mowing down some unsuspecting synagogue attendees. One security guard was hit by the vehicle and injured, Sheriff Bouchard said. Others were wearing gas masks while asleep in the vehicle for explosives. The sheriff said, though it was not immediately clear if any had been found, the 140 students at the synagogue's preschool were unhurt. Temple Israel officials said in a statement praising the school's teachers and calling the security guards who confronted the terrorist government heroes. The suspect, Mr. Ghazali, worked at a popular restaurant called Hamido in Dearborn Heights, Michigan, about 20 miles west of Detroit. His acquaintances were shocked to learn that he could be the attacker. This is all Twitter stuff. Synagogue attacks have been on the rise. So there's your Pittsburgh synagogue shooting. There's a few more here. There's the one in Poway. So those are two of the more famous ones. Here's all you need to know about synagogues.
And all of the people in Detroit area following the attack on the Jewish synagogue early today, and I've been fully briefed, and it's a terrible thing, but it goes on. We're going to be right down to the bottom of it. It's absolutely incredible that things like this happen.
There you go. And then you had a shooting at a church. Like, hey, at least it's equal opportunity on the Abrahamic religions. Okay, so I have one more thing that I wanted to bring up today. It's a very eclectic Friday. And I hope you're enjoying a bit of this eclectic approach today. We had an election runoff here in Texas recently. And the big winner in that election was a guy by the name of James Talarico. And Talarico beat out Jasmine Crockett for a opportunity to get into an election where there's going to be a brief runoff between what's his name? John Cornyn and Ken Paxton. They're the Republicans. And that's going to be an interesting race unto itself. Both guys are kind of Trump adjacent and Trump sponsored. Like Trump likes them both. Who's he going to like better? And apparently in Texas, having a Trump sponsorship is of utmost importance. The Trump seal of approval. Now, the Republicans wanted to back Jasmine Crockett because Jasmine Crockett would have had the Republicans would have had a much better chance of defeating Jasmine Crockett because she's shrill and she's more about no than yes. Do you know what I mean? But James Talarico is different. And James Talarico has a very interesting strategy. And Talarico has decided that he's going to carve out a position that is both evangelical and radical. And his whole idea is to capitalize on America being fractured and split. In his mind, he's the guy that has the ability to heal America, or at least Texas. And Talarico comes off as very appealing in a lot of ways. And I'm trying to find something here as I kind of give you a bit of a background. So what happened was that Jasmine Crockett lost. She lost the primary. And her political future is kind of up in the air. And what's interesting is that the swing vote in that election was the Latino community. They were the ones that got Talarico over the hump. And I'm trying to find something here on Nextdoor. I'm scrolling through Nextdoor, and somebody posted a story on Nextdoor here, and it had to do with ICE being in Ingram, which is the town that I essentially live in. And it's a small town. And they were removing somebody from a longtime Ingram family, probably some sort of manual laborer. And the debate that was taking place on Nextdoor was interesting, to say the least, because you had people that were against what ICE was doing. It was like, he's here illegally, he's breaking law, one law for all, right? And then you had another group of people who were on the other side, and that these people were not a threat. They were not drug dealers. They were not rapists. They were not murderers, which was really what this idea of ICE was set up to do theoretically, which was get rid of the multiple offenders and send them back, right? And I think most people were okay with that. They're like, okay, yeah, we're good with that. But when they started to take out like the women who made your tamales and shit like that, or the guy that cut your lawn, all of a sudden it was like, whoa, wait a second. We're doing something here that doesn't make sense. So the reason I'm bringing this up is because you can kind of see this ideological divide here in Texas. And let me see if I can play you a little James Talarico. Let me go back here to YouTube. Hold on a second. Hold on. I gotta get out of that. I've seen that already. Give me 1 second. Okay, where are we? Right there. Let me do this. All right. So I'm not gonna play you the entire video. But I want to play you a dose of Talarico. This guy's Talarico is dangerous. And the Republicans are kind of terrified of him because he looks the part of being a conservative and a Christian, but his views are incredibly radical. I mean, he is this guy is an amazing kind of psyop. And I'm fascinated to see where it goes, because they are going to go after this dude as much as they can prior to this the midterms coming up, where he's going to run off. And the Cornyn Paxton combination, or either one, it's not a good matchup for them against James Talarico. I'm just trying to find a good video to give you guys a sense as to what this guy's about. He's a Gemini, so he's a really, really good orator. He's very glib. He's young, but he looks old, right? He's got that kind of Texas clean cut. I think he's really satanic, though. I've never seen this before, but this is from his YouTube channel. Let me give you a dose of James Talarico right here.
About love, but isn't that just too weak for the moment that we're in today?
Hold on.
You preach about love, but isn't that just too weak for the moment that we're in today?
My faith teaches me that love is the strongest force in the universe. Love is not passive. Love is not neutral. Love is not weak. Sometimes love requires that we stand between the bullies and the bullied. Love sometimes requires that we look evil in the eye and not blink. Love sometimes requires that we flip over the tables of injustice. That kind of love has always been a threat to the powers that be. In my experience, when you extend an open hand instead of a closed fist, you'll be surprised by who takes that hand. That's how I flipped a Trump district in a red county. That's how I passed major bills in a Republican-dominated body. And that is how we are going to flip this seat in Texas in November. If you hate politics and you've never voted before, you have a place in this campaign. If you've voted for Democrats, but you're tired of DC Democrats always folding, you have a place in this campaign. And if you voted for Donald Trump, but you are fed up with the extremism and the corruption in our government, you have a place in this campaign. A new kind of politics is possible. It's waiting to be born through all of us. And a movement that radiates that kind of love is unstoppable. I really appreciate that question because
this motherfucker's dangerous. Do you see what he just did there? He took that question and flipped it on its ear and used it as a rallying point to bring people together. I'm telling you, man. All right, we talked about at the beginning of the show, we talked about these outsiders, like the hip hop bros. James Talarico is not a hip hop bro, but he is clearly an outsider, right? This is the new look of the outsider in some ways. Right? You've got the metrosexual version. That's not going to sell in Texas. They tried that with Beto O'Rourke or Beta O'Rourke. It didn't work. This guy is completely manufactured. And he's got a weird background too. Like he has one of these backgrounds where he comes from a broken home, right? Where have we heard that before? He was born May 17th. He's a Taurus. I'm sorry. He's a Taurus, but he's got some shit in Gemini. I've seen his chart. In Round Rock, Texas, to Tamar Causey. She left James's father, an abusive alcoholic, when he was 7 weeks old. Okay. And a few months later, she married Mark Talarico, who adopted James. Talarico attended Round Rock ISD schools and graduated from McNeil High School in Williamson County, Texas. At McNeil, he competed in speech and debate and also acted in school theater, once playing Danny Zuko in Grease. Talarico's maternal grandfather was a Baptist preacher in South Texas who Talarico says taught him Christianity is simple, though not easy. Is a simple but not easy religion, rooted in 2 commandments: love God and love your neighbor. Okay. This guy's dangerous. He is the worst nightmare for Republicans. And every time he's gone out and campaigned, he's won. He hasn't lost a campaign yet. And he beat Jasmine Crockett, who has had, 2 years as a sitting congresswoman in D.C. Who is his father? James Dell Collins. Collins is an Illuminati name. Collins is one of the Illuminati families. Bloodlines of the Illuminati. This is Springmeyer. Let me play this. Let me show this for you. The early Fritz Springmeyer work was really good. I don't know what happened to him. So we have the Astor family, right? Their family, Illuminati family, goes through them and their history, blah, 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 blah. Right. And these are the Bundy bloodline. Oh, where have we heard that one before? Like George Bundy, Harry Bundy, the Collins bloodline. Isn't that interesting? So he gets into some of the Collins members. They are witchcraft family. Clifton Collins, Cop Collins, DeWitt Collins, Jim Collins, Lana Collins, John Anderson Collins, Mondi D. Collins, Paul Valoris Collins, Robert DeVille Collins. You've got Collinsville, Mississippi. Lots of Collins. Revisiting the Collins family, one of the top 13 Illuminati families. So I need to go through this again because that is James Talarico's birth name. It's Collins. You have the Todd branch of the Collins family. It's very interesting. And there's more of these families in here as well. So there you go. The DuPonts, they're in there. Anyway, I just wanted to show you a little bit of James Talarico. And if there's ever a guy who will be fast-tracked to be a presidential candidate if we continue to have elections, it's Talarico. He is the guy. He was born in, so he's 36 years old, right? You have to be, 39 to run for president? I believe that's the age, if I'm not mistaken. It is 35. So he's already a president. I'll tell you this right now. If there is an election, and there's a big if, right? If there is an election in 2028 and James Talarico is elected as U.S. Senator in 2026, we know for a fact that you only really need about 2 years worth of senatorial experience to be what? To be a presidential candidate. Hello, Barack Obama, Mr. Outsider candidate. James Talarico's political career path is right on time and online with the 2028 election. And this would be a guy who would, if he beats these two, these two guys, Cornyn and Ken Paxton, are beatable. Even though Ken Paxton or Cornyn has been an incumbent for years, he's beatable. If he gets into a debate with Talarico, Talarico will destroy him. I guarantee you that he'll destroy him. He may have a bit of a more of a difficult time with Ken Paxton, but Ken Paxton has some. He's got some dirty laundry that's never been fully addressed as the treasurer of Texas. Never been fully addressed. And a lot of it's still kind of hanging out there. So Talarico could go after him for that and maybe make some inroads with that. If I were going to put money on Kalshi or Polymarket for that Senate seat, I'd put money on Talarico. I think this guy's going to get elected. And I know we kind of bat around the idea of the Antichrist a lot, but man, he's got some Antichrist vibes. He just does. And he talks about how God is non-binary. And in a weird way, he's kind of right. Like, it's one of those things, if you think about it, it's like, well, yeah, it kind of makes sense, right? Like, God is everything. God is male and God is female. And in the patriarchal world, it's always like God the Father, God the Father. And I don't really have a problem with that, right? I don't have a problem if people address God that way. But on the other hand, if we're just talking about a universal principle and God is everything, well, yeah, God is non-binary. So Talarico kind of understands this, right? And then when he talks about like trans people, he like puts a seat at the table unapologetically for trans people. James Talarico has found this interesting way to thread the needle. Like, he comes off as being pious and Christian and faith-based, but he also has this other side where he is radically and unapologetically progressive. I don't think I've ever seen a politician be able to do this before. So I'm not a fan, but I can notice things. I can spot things well in advance. And this guy is going to be a problem for the Republicans in a very big way. And it's already started. There were Republicans that were putting money in Jasmine Crockett's campaign because they knew that shrill little Jasmine Crockett wouldn't have stood a chance against Cornyn or Ken Paxton. The Republicans know they got a problem on their hands with James Talarico. I tipped Jason Whitlock off to James Talarico months ago. James Talarico, let me see if I can find it. I know we're going a little long today, but I got to find this. James Talarico on abortion. I got to find this thing. Yeah, this is from Joe Rogan. He was on Joe Rogan. So this is how he is handling the right to life and this is kryptonite for the Republicans, this whole issue in general. So he's on Rogan. That tells you something. So let's play this.
Let it happen. So to me, that is an affirmation in one of our most central stories that you cannot force someone to create. Creation is one of the most sacred acts that we engage in as human beings, but that has to be done with consent. It has to be done with freedom. And to me, that is absolutely consistent with the ministry and life and death of Jesus.
you're arguing for a scriptural basis for abortion, you're not just emphasizing in your politics different aspects of your faith, but you're very much challenging quite widespread interpretations of it.
Again, I think that's what we're called to do as Christians. Almost every debate Jesus is in is with the religious authorities of his time and directly challenging orthodoxy. So I do think this is, Jesus was a religious reformer. Paul was a religious reformer. And so I think when we're at our best as Christians, we are challenging religious dogmas and religious supremacy. But, I also try to come at this with humility. On the issue of abortion, I've said before, I don't know what Jesus thought about abortion. The Bible doesn't tell us. The Bible doesn't mention abortion at all. And so, as with many issues that aren't mentioned in the Bible, we have to take scripture and we've got to try to piece together what we think is what love demands of us on a particular policy question. And you're right, for the past 50 years in this country, the religious right, a political movement, convinced a lot of Christians in America that the two most important issues were abortion and homosexuality. Two issues that aren't really discussed in Scripture. Abortion is never mentioned. Consensual same-sex relationships are never mentioned. And so it's remarkable to me that you have an entire political movement using Christianity to prioritize two issues that Jesus never talked about. And so I'm not saying they're not important. I actually think both of those issues are very important. But to focus on those two things instead of feeding the hungry and healing the sick and welcoming the stranger, three things we're told to do ad nauseum in Scripture, to me is just let it be, let it happen. So to me, that is an affirmation in one of our most central stories that you cannot force someone to.
So one of the things he says about this is that, let me just play this program a little bit.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Right? Like I was told that if you wanted to be a Christian, you had to hate gay people. If you wanted to be a Christian, you had to want to control women. If you wanted to be a Christian, you had to reject science. And so when Gen Z and when millennials were faced with that choice, it was a pretty easy choice for them, right? They chose their gay friends, they chose women's rights, they chose believing in science. And that, in my opinion, was always a false choice. And in fact, a lot of those positions that I just mentioned are contrary to biblical values, to the teachings of Jesus. And so, there's always going to be progressive Christians and conservative Christians. That's a very healthy debate we should always have. But in this country, it's become synonymous with right-wing politics. So much so that when people hear I'm a Christian politician, they just assume I'm a Republican. I mean, so it's just, I think that has pushed a lot of people away.
So where does that come from? Okay, let's start with gay.
Yeah.
Where does this rejection of gay rights come from?
Well, I think broadly we should say that using religion to control the people is a tale as old as time. Right? I mean, this is powerful stuff.
Right.
It's part of why I made the decision to go to seminary, because I was like, if I'm going to talk about my faith and my beliefs and my values in a public setting or on this podcast when millions of people are going to listen, I better know what I'm talking about. I better be thoughtful in how I approach these things because it has real power on people's lives. And so I think you've seen that from the beginning of the Christian tradition.
Let's get the abortion stuff.
Punishment can sometimes be death. And this is true of eating certain foods, of planting different crops next to each other.
Wearing two different types of cloth.
Sure. And again, I'm not a rabbi, so I hesitate to be able to speak with authority on the Jewish scriptures. But this was a people who had found freedom from slavery in Egypt, and they were trying to be able to set themselves apart from that domination that they knew in Egypt. They wanted a completely new world where God was in charge, not some pharaoh, not some emperor. So this was a radical community they were trying to build. And so they put rules in place to remind themselves that while it may only take a few weeks to get out of an empire, it takes a lifetime to get the empire out of you. So this
guy is really glib and really good one of the things he talks about here is the abortion issue.
Get across. And I think if we're looking at the last 40, 50 years, the religious right has made a concerted effort to make homosexuality and abortion the two biggest issues for Christians. And, the Southern Baptist Convention was pro-choice until the late 1970s. So this idea that to be a Christian, you have to be anti-gay and anti-abortion.
So one of the things he says, this is his premise for allowing abortion to be not a Christian issue, or abortion is not, that abortion is actually sanctioned by God. And this is how it goes. He uses this example of when God spoke to Mary, who is about to be immaculately impregnated. If Mary wants to have the child, if Mary wants to be the mother of the Messiah, right? And Mary says yes. So therefore, Talarico interprets that as Mary having the right to choose. And that it is in the Bible, right? Like the right to choose is in the Bible. And Mary, being the original mother, is going to have the power to say yes or no. That's where Talarico is coming from. This guy, I'm telling you right now, he is the Republicans' worst fucking nightmare. He's their worst nightmare because you just heard him. He sounds incredibly measured, incredibly sincere, like he's thought through all of these issues. He's thought through all of them. And he has very glib, informed, if contrarian positions that he's more than willing to defend. And defend in a way that does not come off as sounding contrarian. So there you are. There you go. Don't know anything about this guy, but he seems like all for one for all God guy. Yes, I would say that that's true. My libtard sisters from Austin is all about him. I'm telling you, this guy is, he's a problem. He is a problem. Okay. That's about it. Maybe it will release the Epstein files. BB, you got the best comments. The absolute best comments. Okay. I am out of here. By the way, I've been spending time on Nextdoor. I've never spent time in this app. I'm fascinated by Nextdoor. I'm fascinated by, especially the one for this area, the shit that they talk about. Or they, it's like, I kind of want to do a video channel just on Nextdoor. I kind of want to just do a Nextdoor channel and follow up on some of these posts on Nextdoor. Like, who are you? I want you on my YouTube channel. Do you really think this way? I've been finding it fascinating from an outsider perspective. Anyway, that's it. I could see where he was appealing to. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm, and I'll tell you right now, he does not have a skeleton in his past. Not one. First of all, he's kind of too young. The older you get, the more skeletons you require. And number two, this guy is very conscious and very clear about what his mission is. And if you do that, you don't fuck up, right? You don't acquire skeletons. And if you do have them, they're minor. So it's going to be a really interesting war between Cornyn / Patrick or Paxton and James Talarico. All right. I'm out of here. Thanks for being here. Don't forget our good friends at True Hemp Science. They are an ally for stressful times, providing you with some of the best CBD products that you can find anywhere. You can go down the road and go get some CBD shit. And I'll tell you right now, it's not as good, not even close as being as good as Chris's products from True Hemp Science, all organically sourced. And he is engaged in that process from soup to nuts, start to finish. And you'll get the best ratio of CBGA, CBD, and THC with any of the products. The gummies are worth the purchase alone. The daytime gummies, the sleep gummies, trust me, you will be happy with the gummy experience. And of course, there's the tinctures for long range resetting of the internal structures of your cells, which is really what CBD is good for. Helps with inflammation and a lot of other things that we take for granted with our bodies. So I think I don't know if he's got the first time buyer 20% off deal, but if you go there and you get $150 or more, type in 15MINS when you check out and you'll get the goodie bag, which is an order on top of the order. $150 always gives you free shipping. So a big shout out to Chris and True Hemp Science, the sponsor of the show. I'll be back on Sunday night with some astrology, with Sunday Night Astro Live. Always look forward to that. And of course, we'll have plenty to talk about because there's not, it's not like we don't have a lot going on in the universe right now. All right. Shout out to Chattaria. You're the best. Everybody out there, stay strong, stay supple, stay resilient, stay flexible. Love you all. Take good care. Bye for now.